And we are live. And I'm going to adjust the camera just a wee bit.
I don't think you have to adjust it that much.
Just a little bit. I want to shift it over here just a little bit. Let's shift it there for now. And I would like you to shift over just a bit for now. And I will shift over just a bit. And I'll move this actually a little bit further back towards there. And that gives me just a little bit more room. And yeah, I'm getting used to this new setup right now. Good gentles all. I am David Anthony, the Foxy Bard.
I'm Twig.
And that is a noise outside of our flat.
Which the ever-present.
Ever-present.
I mean, it's going to be ever-present because spring is coming.
Spring
and
is
summer
here.
And then
Spring is here.
Spring is here.
Life is Skittles, and they're back here.
You're going to want to make the...
I am going to want to make the thing with him. Hello, Kristen. Good to see you. And no other way. That's how you get bigger. There we are. One pill makes you smaller.
We've got a bit of an intimate audience.
We do have an intimate audience, but I suspect that more people will come wandering in. Welcome to Foxy's Foxy's History Hour. After I have a little bit more alcohol, I'll feel better.
Yeah, I'm sure that'll really help your speech.
Had a good day to Alan Miller. Happy Passover, Good Yontif and Chag Sameach to all of our Jewish friends out there, and also all of our non-Jewish friends who just like eating matzah.
And also, hello to anybody who joined us last night for the Seder. Yes, indeed.
Last night for the Seder, I'm feeling deliciously hungover. Deliciously. Delicious. Because it's a combination, you see, of not just being hungover, but also being incredibly full. It's like Thanksgiving, except lamb, and beef. And
wine.
Lots of wine. Good gentles all. I see that Elizabeth and Mark have joined us. Good day to you. So today on Foxy's History Hour, we are going to be drinking kosher for Passover alcohols, which is to say wine, vodka, and arak, which is always fun.
Yeah.
It's always very, very, very fun. Well, we continue to discuss the First Crusade. Last week, let's do a quick review of what we covered last week. So
I need my thing. Here, you pour my cup and I'll
So we learned about the Byzantine Empire, which of course is the center of civilization, with Constantinople being the only real city, and they are ruled by Emperor Alexius I.
Oh wait, I have a thing for him. I have a thing. I drew him.
Indeed.
I'm doing visuals so that everybody. Where did my visuals go? Those are blank sheets of paper. There he is.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Boy Alexius.
So yeah, Emperor Alexius I, who is the Emperor of Rome, the undisputed head of all of Christendom, and the one who has the right to appoint bishops.
But wait, there's
more, because in Western Christendom you have feudalism, in which power is very localized. And in the case of France in particular, that means that local nobles fight each other more often than they fight anybody else. Yeah. And the church is rather miffed about it, and they're trying to get them to stop by showing them bones of dead people, but it's not working. And so, in addition, everything is mostly rural. There aren't very many big cities. As far as the people in the Byzantine Empire are concerned, they're a bunch of unwashed heathens. There's also this thing called the Holy Roman Empire.
The Holy Roman Empire.
And the leader of the Holy Roman Empire is the Emperor of Rome.
Uh-huh.
And yes, we do have a new and improved map. Well, it's not the new map. It's the old map, but we touched it up.
Redefined.
Right. So it's remastered. It's a remastered director's cut of the map. So yes, indeed. It's Holy Roman Empire. The Holy Roman Emperor is the Emperor of Rome, as well as the leader of all of Christendom, and the only guy who gets to appoint bishops. But wait, there's more, because down in Rome there's a Pope boy, Pope Urban II, who is the heir of St. Peter and the Emperor of Rome, and the undisputed head of all of Christendom, and the only guy who gets to appoint bishops.
But wait, there's more,
because there's also Clement, who is an anti-pope, who was crowned in Ravenna, and Clement was appointed basically by the Holy Roman Emperor. But either way, the point is that the anti-pope
living
Clement,
in a time where there's an anti-pope.
There were a few of those times. We'll get to more of that later.
But wait, there's more.
But wait, well, actually, that's it for Christendom.
No, what about that guy?
Well, we'll get to him in a minute.
That guy?
We'll get to him.
What about him?
We'll get to him.
Fine.
We'll get to him.
Fine.
We're still setting the
he's our senpai. We can't.
I know he's our senpai. We can't, but we need to talk about the other side.
Oh my gosh!
Because
I didn't even draw that yet.
I know you didn't draw any pictures for them.
No. Well.
But then again, If
They aren't supposed to have
you're not supposed to draw pictures of them,
themselves.
so yes, no, we're not going
So
to do
really,
that.
really.
Point is, in the Arab world, sorry, the Muslim world, I should say, because it's not just Arabs. There's lots of other people aside from Arabs. There's Persians and Turks and all sorts of stuff.
Yes.
But the point is that over in the Muslim world, you've got the Abbasid Caliph in Baghdad, who is the undisputed head of all of Islam and the heir to Muhammad. You've got the Fatimid Caliph, who is Shia. Abbasid Caliph is Sunni, the Fatimid Caliph is Shia, and he rules in Cairo in Egypt, and he is the heir to Muhammad and the undisputed head of all of Islam. And then there is the Umayyad Caliph in Cordoba, in Spain, who is also the heir of Muhammad and the undisputed head of all of Islam. And then you've got the wild card, which is the Turks. The Turks under Kilij Arslan. Kilij Arslan is not the undisputed head of all of Islam. He's just the king of all the Turks and the biggest baddie on the block. And Kilij Arslan comes in from the steppes and pillages everything in his path, because that's what happens every now and then in European history and Asian history as well, Eurasian history. And this brings us to, and this is the final bit of review from last week, and that brings us to Emperor Alexius, because the Turks have come in.
We already
and
covered him.
We've got our map.
We've got
our map.
It's Alexius again.
We've got our map.
Coming back.
We've got a map.
Alexius.
Our new and improved, redefined map. Is it more visible?
It's slightly more visible. Yes, I think you need to get closer to the camera.
You do need to get a little bit closer to the camera, but I think that yes. All right. Here. Let's go to the important part. Here, you take that end. You take that end. So the point is, Emperor Alexius, who is emperor here in Constantinople, the Turks have come in from Central Asia and they have taken all of Central Anatolia, this whole region here, which used to be part of the Byzantine Empire, and the Turks have taken it all. Now, all the Byzantines have are like a few cities on the coast, and their navy. They've always got if you remember, if you're Byzantine, you've always got the navy. But Turks have taken the inland, and Emperor Alexius sends a letter to Pope Urban II over in Rome, who's actually not in Rome right now. He's in Clermont in France, but we'll get to that in a minute. Sends a letter to the Pope saying, send me some Christian knights to save me arse from the Turks. And the Pope says, I've got a better idea. I'm going to declare a crusade. So the Pope is in Clermont, France, which is about here or so, more or less. He would be in Rome, but Rome is under control of the anti-pope at the moment. Remember the anti-pope? So Clement, he's in Rome at the moment. So Pope Urban, grab the other end. So Pope Urban II is in Clermont in France. Right.
Yeah, I'm reporting that.
So, oh, dang it, I didn't even notice that.
No, I'm reporting that. No. No. Dum-da-dum.
That one.
Yep. Dum-da-dum.
That's all right.
There we go.
All right.
Don't be a douche.
And 'tis the season for this to happen on occasion. Allow us to...
Technical difficulties.
Very good. All right. Where were we? So the Pope Urban II, is up in Clermont, France. He calls a council together and he says, hey, everybody, we need to go retake Jerusalem. We need to go retake the Holy Land for Christendom. And everybody shouted, Deus Vult. And the Bishop Adhemar, Adhemar Senpai.
He finally comes back into play.
Yep, there's Adhemar Senpai.
I was waiting for him.
Bishop Adhemar.
There he is. There's our guy. This is our boy.
Yes. The Bishop Adhemar gets up and says, I will personally lead this crusade of yours. So now we're actually getting to the crusade. We just reviewed everything from last week. Everything we learned from last week was mostly just setting the scene of how medieval Europe works as it pertains to our story of the Crusades. So now on to the First Crusade. But wait, because you see, last week we did the backstory, the world building, you might say. But before we can even get to the First Crusade, we must deal with the prequel, which is the People's Crusade.
Oh my gosh, we are going to talk about
We gotta talk about
We're going to talk about that.
We gotta talk about the People's Crusade. Oh, goodness gracious. So here's the deal. The Pope gets up. Quick review of last week of what the Pope said at the whole thing about the crusade. So he says, all right, crusade, we're going to do crusade, but Pope has never declared a crusade before. There's never been holy war before. This is a brand new idea in Christendom. And so he brands it as a pilgrimage, which everybody does pilgrimages. Pilgrimages are normal. You go to a holy site, you come back, you pray along the way and you do some rituals and you get saved, and it's great. So the Pope decides, I'm going to brand this as a armed pilgrimage. You go to Jerusalem and you do some praying and you come back, and if anybody gets in your way,
you murderize
them.
You murderize
them. And here's the thing. And now remember, part of why the Pope wants to do this is because the French knights are killing each other in France, and he wants them to not do that. And he wants them to kill Muslims instead, way over there, instead of here at home. You don't want that. So you want to get rid of them. You want to convince them that they really need to do it. So you tell them, you're going to go to heaven. You're going to go to heaven if you go on crusade, and if you kill them, it's penance. Normally, you kill people because knights kill people. That's part of their job. It's the job of being a knight. You kill people. But that's a sin.
Yeah.
It's a sin.
It seems like that probably would be a sin, right? Like,
it is.
Brutalizing is probably a sin.
Your job is a sin. This is one of the
But it's your job.
This is one of the big neuroses of the Middle Ages. One of the big neuroses of the Middle Ages. You've got a whole class of people, knights,
We're not
whose job
supposed to
is
kill
a sin.
People,
but it's your job to kill people. You've got to
Technically, we don't have to kill the people, but like we really, really wanna. So
I know. What are you gonna do? So the Pope says.
Let's ask the Pope about it.
Pope says
about it.
Open up the fortune cookie. Pope says. That's Catholic fortune cookie. Pope says, go to the east and kill Muslims, and that will be penance.
Oh my God, it is a fortune cookie, isn't it?
Yeah, kind of is.
It does sound like it comes out of a fortune. Well, I mean, maybe not kill.
A horrible fortune cookie.
With less murder, but
terrible fortune cookie. Let's have a little
I like how
thing you
he's
mean
like,
reserve.
what you should do if you don't want to go down for killing everybody, you should kill more people.
Yes.
That is sound
advice right there.
Yes.
So, now here's the deal. Here's how it works at this point. So the Pope has declared his crusade. Everybody's going to go on an armed pilgrimage. You're going to go to Jerusalem, and you are going to retake the Holy Land. Now, very quickly, before we continue much further, I would like to murder cookies. I like it.
Murder cookies.
Murder cookies.
Murder cookies.
Murder cookies. Murder cookies. This is going to be a thing now. We're going to start producing them, and it'll eventually be available on our website.
Cookies.
So, two things I would like to address. I would like to dispel two quick myths concerning the Crusades, because I don't like to get into politics, but sometimes when you talk history, it kind of comes up. So there are two big myths about the Crusades that I would like to dispel from the onset. First big myth is that the Crusades were justified. This is a myth.
No,
this exists.
Really
there are people who claim this. There are people who say that the Crusades were somehow justified, that this was a measured and justified response to continued and coordinated Muslim aggression, which is nonsense. It is. I've seen these arguments. I've seen people argue, for example, well, the Muslims did capture Jerusalem. Yeah, 400 years earlier. I mean, that's like saying that one of the justifications for the invasion of Iraq was the Barbary pirates of the late 18th century. It's stupid. It's dumb theory. Dumb theory, because it connects dots where there are no dots. It's taking a bunch of different things that were done by a bunch of different people who never knew each other and calling it a coordinated thing and justifiable aggression that needs to be countered, and etc., etc. That's dumb. That's wrong. The second quick, good day to you, Luscious. It's good to see you. The second quick myth that I want to dispel is on the other end of the spectrum, by the way, and that is the idea that the Crusades were some sort of proto-imperialism. That the idea that the Crusades were this thing where it was just a bunch of third sons of nobles who just wanted to carve little kingdoms out for themselves, and this is just imperialism and colonialism, but 800 years earlier. Like, here's the thing about that: that's also idiotic. It's also dumb because. First of all, there were a number of lords who were looking to get wealthy off of this. Let's not pretend that there weren't.
No.
They did exist. But the
someone's always looking to get wealthy off of the thing, you know.
But the thing is that this approach fails to grasp the medieval mind. The vast majority of the people who went out there and went on crusade and bankrupted themselves and took up arms and took up the cross, they weren't doing it out of some idea of imperialism or colonialism or anything like that. They were doing it because they thought it would get them into heaven, because they honestly believed this stuff. And that's why the Pope said it, because he knew people would believe it. He knew people would believe that. People went to fight because they honestly believed this was getting them into heaven. These were even the people who were ostensibly in charge. These were people who were going on pilgrimage. They had no intention of staying. And ultimately they didn't. It was only a small handful of weirdos who decided to stay and carve little kingdoms out for themselves. So to call this imperialism and colonialism is anachronistic, basically. Mm-hmm. You're taking modern 19th century notions of how the world works and superimposing them upon medieval people when medieval people did not think in those terms. So yeah, two quick myths. Quick myth number one to debunk that the Crusades were somehow justifiable, which is nonsense.
Yeah, no.
And myth two to debunk that the Crusades were some sort of early example of colonialism and imperialism, which is also nonsense, because it fails to take into account the medieval mindset.
You could make a more compelling argument for that latter misconception.
You could make an argument for it.
On paper, it does actually really resemble it. Really, the only thing
it resembles it, but it only resembles it superficially because you're failing to take into account the medieval mindset.
Yes, but what I'm saying is that one has slightly more merit than these things being justified.
Fair enough.
There you go.
At any rate,
anyway, on with the story.
On with the deal. We are 15 minutes in, and we have covered a couple of myths.
Got the disclaimers out of the way.
We've debunked a couple of myths, and we have reviewed everything that we have talked about up until now.
And we banished an anti-Semite.
So that's always
neat.
That's
neat. All in a day's work.
All in a day's work, as you do. So, the Pope up in Claremont. Where's my map? Why did I put it away? I'm going to have it up here. I want the map up here, sort of semi-permanently, in the right direction.
In the right direction.
That's the right direction.
Whoa, okay.
All right. I'm going to take this and put this here. I'm going to take that and put that there. I'm going to take that.
Well, you're out of luck.
And I'm going to put that away from the candle.
Yeah, don't light the map on fire.
Don't light the map on
that
fire.
That looks conspicuous. That is very close to a fire.
Oh, that's another fire. That's
Why
another
are
fire.
you doing that?
That's another fire.
There's
that fire over there.
Do
not burn the map. All right.
Now we don't have to hold it.
Although it's still got that light immediately behind it. Well, it's there for when I need it. And hopefully it'll be visible eventually. We will figure this out, I promise. So the Pope is up in Claremont, in France.
The one that's not labeled. He's in that white space.
He's in that white space.
He's in that.
No, I don't have every city labeled on the map.
He's in the void.
I only have a handful of cities labeled.
He's in the void.
He is in a white void in France. When he ought to be in Rome. Very much like John Oliver.
Yes.
Except not Rome, but whatever. All right, he's declared the crusade. So here's how it's supposed to work. The Pope declares the crusade, and hopefully a bunch of knights, well-armed, well-trained knights, will prepare to go to Jerusalem, because it's a long trip, very long trip. France is over here, and Jerusalem's way over here. Long trip. You got to prepare for that. You need provisions. You need weapons. You need your entourage. You need your personal smith. You need your personal farrier. You need all of your personal people that are there to handle your stuff. You need your little retinue of bowmen and spearmen and other squires and whatnot. And all these people need food. So you're going to need a cook and probably a seamstress and maybe your wife, because why not? So, and all these people need to eat. This takes a lot of planning. And so the general understanding, this is never actually said outright, but it's kind of the general understanding.
One of those unspoken rules of the crusade.
One of those unspoken rules is that the Pope calls for the crusade, and most people are going to prepare for like a year or two, and then go on crusade. Because that's what you're supposed to do. Because that's how war gets done, usually.
Yeah.
You know, the king calls for the knights and goes, I'm going to go to war against France, and I want some soldiers. Like, well, I'll see you in about a year after we prepared, because you need to prepare.
Yeah, because there's lots of stuff.
But here's the thing.
You'll need a year to prepare the stuff.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing. The thing is like this. Here's the thing.
What's the thing?
Well, you see, when the king calls the soldiers and says, I want you to get ready to go to war with me against France. Well, that's going to war against France.
That's not too sexy.
Yeah, with the king.
I mean, that might have been sexy the first couple of times, but, in the 27th
Well, I mean, the knights are going to do it anyway, because they've made their oath and all.
Sexy. The novelties sort of ran out.
But when the Pope gets up for the first time ever and says, hey, everybody, I want you to go retake Jerusalem for God, and you get to go to heaven.
That is pretty sexy right
there. Very
That's
sexy.
Some sexy shit right there.
Which means it's not just the knights who want to do it.
It's also...
No. It's also everybody else and their uncle. It's random peasants. It's women and children. It's axe murderers and nut jobs. It's
ducks.
Ducks. Little ducks going quack, 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 Dale's Vault.
We want our redemption. Quack, quack.
How's that? Is that a good duck crusader right there for you?
Definitely terrifying. I don't know if it was a duck.
You said ducks. I just went with ducks. Yes, and. All right. So all sorts of random people. I
should have said goose.
That's all right.
Or geese. Gooses.
All sorts of random people decide that they want to get on this whole, going to heaven free card.
Crusade bandwagon.
Get on the Crusade, but you free ticket to heaven.
It's the trendiest thing right
Very
now.
trendy.
It's very trendy.
Very trendy. Free ticket to heaven and everything. You want to go on Crusade. So you've got, instead of a bunch of, you have a bunch of knights who are getting ready to go on Crusade. But while that's happening, you got all sorts of random people who are getting ready to go on Crusade, and they're not making preparations because they're not soldiers and they don't know what they're talking about, and they just kind of go off in the random direction of Jerusalem. So we're going to talk about 3 groups of those people.
Oh boy, there's a lot of different groups.
A lot of different groups.
In case you haven't noticed so far,
the
there's
First
a lot
Crusade,
of random douchebags that are involved in this.
Yeah, the whole reason why we went through all of that backstory to explain to you all of the various factions involved is because the First Crusade was an disorganized mess. Yeah. So we're going to be getting into a lot of complicated like local politics and shite.
Okay.
So,
all right.
It'd be true.
Yes.
They were motivated by conquering. It is true.
Mm-hmm.
But so right, let's talk about the People's Crusade.
Also, hello. Thank you for joining us.
Good to see you.
Who have joined us.
Pleasure for you to join us. So, People's Crusade. So there's 3 groups. Let's talk about the first group. I've got my notes here. It's good to have notes. So, first guy we're going to talk about is Walter Sans-Avoir. Walter Sans-Avoir, he's from France.
Who's War?
Avoir.
Yeah,
wait, what?
He's Walter Son of War. Right?
No. Walter Sans-Avoir.
Yeah, who's War?
Sans, spelled S-A-N-S, without.
Sans. So
Sans.
he's without war?
He's without avoir.
But you see, he's going to war, so...
He is going to war. That's why he is right now without avoir, because he's going to war.
Okay.
You catching on?
Maybe? I'm very confused.
It's all right. All right, so Walter Sans-Avoir, he's in France, and he manages to get a whole bunch of random peasants to follow him. He's just one of these...
To war.
All right, so first of all, Walter Sans-Avoir, he is a minor baron. He's a minor baron. And he honestly believes this. He hears about, I can go to heaven because let's face it, he's done a lot of killing. He's a knight.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of penance to do.
He's killed lots of dudes.
Lots of dudes.
Lots of people.
He wants to go to heaven. And he gets told where you can go to Jerusalem. He starts marching, and he gets everybody else to follow him.
All you gotta do is take a lovely vacation in which you get to kill even more people. But for whatever reason, that is okay on this particular vacation.
Indeed. And he gets a whole bunch of people to follow him. The thing I wish to emphasize here, by the way, in the People's Crusades, there are a handful of barons and knights who are leading the People's Crusades. These are the dumbest of the knights. Just so you're aware, going into this. Later, we'll get into the actual meat of the First Crusade.
Party?
Yes.
Oh, God. Oh,
yes.
That's not a good sign.
Yes. It's like later on, when we get into the actual First Crusade, we're going to get into people who are like protagonists in movies. You know,
the protags.
The protags. But right now, this is the People's Crusade. So this is the D&D campaign that comes before the movie, which means that these are the worst possible people that go on the People's Crusade. This is the absolute worst. So Walter Sansavoir. So he starts marching on his way to the crusade. And we're going to talk about him first because he's the first one to get to Constantinople. And this is the first point.
It's wonderful that the ex-murderer is the first one to get to Constantinople.
So yeah, he's
wonderful first impression that's going.
So yeah, Walter is the ex-murderer who wants to get into heaven and believes it's going to work. So, and he gets a whole bunch of peasants to follow him. Whole bunch of like random like masterless knights and just random serfs and random weirdos and just random people who are like, yeah, we're gonna go to the Holy Land.
People who are maybe a little bit too passionate about murdering people.
Just a little bit too passionate about murdering people. So they start in France. They decide to go the land route. They make their way. They go through Hungary. And they go through Hungary without any kind of incident. Hungary, by the way, only has just recently become Christian. Thing to be aware of.
Oh, that's late.
It's only within the last like 200 years, 150 years, even not even that much, like 150 years ago.
We're in the High Middle Ages.
We're 1096. 1096.
That's late for.
That's late for converting to Christianity. Well, because the Hungarians are Magyars, you see. They're one of those guys that came from Central Asia. Remember, there's these guys from Central Asia who just kind of invade every now and then.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yes,
the People's Crusade is all murder hobos.
It's all murder hobos.
Absolutely. The People's Crusade is all murder hobos.
What D&D class are they? Nothing. They're literally just murder hobos.
Well, Walter himself would be a fighter.
Yeah, he's fighter.
He's class fighter. The rest of them are like their class is like peasant. I don't know. Peasant is a class, right?
Murder hobo might as well be a class.
Might as well. But yeah, so the Magyars, the Hungarians, are one of those Central Asian steppe peoples who come invading every now and then. And they just invaded like 150 years ago and converted to Christianity. Good for them. And Catholicism, so they follow the Pope, theoretically. But only fairly recently. Like, these are people whose like grandfathers and great-grandfathers were still pagan. And they've just gotten word that the Pope has declared a crusade. Lovely, lovely, lovely. And now Walter comes along, and he's just this ragtag knight with a bunch of peasants following him.
Literally ragtag.
Ragtag.
He's got a band of ragtag murder hobos.
I bet he is.
And he's traipsing across Europe. And that must be terrifying for literally everybody else in Europe.
Oh, it is terrifying. Well, it's not terrifying.
Seeing as how they have a license
to kill for Christ.
They're like James Bond.
Well, it's not quite terrifying just yet because nobody has seen yet just what's going to happen.
Really?
So right now, they're not terrified just yet. It's like, what's going to happen? They're kind of curious. What is going to go on? So they go through Hungary with...
Well, it's a horse in a hospital, It's
indeed.
A horse in a hospital.
It is a horse in a hospital. It absolutely is. So they go through Hungary with very little incident. Things are okay so far.
All right.
And they get to Belgrade, which is about here. If you can see, yep. Is that visible from there? What do you think?
I don't know.
Let's bring it a little bit closer.
Okay, well...
let's leave it here.
No, let's leave it there.
Is the map visible?
Just trust that Hungary is like there.
There's Hungary. Hungary's in this general area. And they get to Belgrade.
Woo!
The important thing about Belgrade is basically the border of the Byzantine Empire. Remember the Byzantine Empire?
Yeah.
Remember Alexius?
That's where our boy Alexius is.
Our boy Alexius, who started this whole thing by asking for help for the Turks. So, Walter Sansavoir.
Oh, you wanted help? Here's some murder hobos.
Kathy can see, so I think we're good. So Walter Sansavoir.
This is Alexius. He's the guy that asks for help and got murder hobos.
Indeed. So he gets to Belgrade. And he's like, hey, I'm here to help. I'm here to come fight the heathen and take Jerusalem for Christendom.
I think it's probably just like, I'm here to help your cause. I'm here to get rid of everybody and murder everything. And I'll murder anybody for you.
Actually, that's
I didn't draw the dude.
You didn't draw Walter?
I didn't draw Walter.
Do you want to draw Walter?
Anybody. I mean, he's a character that comes up.
He is a character. Right? He comes up. Do you want to draw Walter?
Well, I mean, when you're all like, and then maybe I do want to.
Fair enough. Anyway,
quote Trump.
Point is that Walter gets to Belgrade and says, "Hey, I'm here to help." Now, the governor in Belgrade, the Byzantine governor in Belgrade, is a little bit not sure what to do because, like, well, I know the emperor asked for help, but I was expecting a bunch of knights. Instead, I see one knight
and a bunch of
murder hobos. And I strongly suspect that the knight is also a murder hobo. So he's like, you know what? You know what? Hang tight and I'll ask my boss what's up. Which, to be fair, that's a reasonable approach to take, all things considered.
Yeah.
It's like, hang tight and I'm going to ask the emperor what to do. So he sends a messenger off to Constantinople. In the meantime, Walter and all of his peasants are getting hungry. And so...
they decide to eat the emperor.
The emperor's in Constantinople.
Oh.
But they're hungry. And they're in Hungary. And you know what happens when you're hungry and hungry? You pillage the countryside is what you do.
All right.
Basically, they started pillaging the countryside.
You mean the murder hobos are starting to murder everyone?
Yeah, I know. Although, to be fair, up until this point, we didn't necessarily know they were murder hobos. I mean, I knew they were murder hobos, and you knew because I told you that they were murder hobos, but they hadn't really. We're getting to that.
We're getting to that. We're getting to it.
We're getting to that. That's going to take a minute. But good on you, V, for catching that. We're getting there.
We're getting there.
But yeah, so up until now, we didn't know they were murder hobos. But now they have revealed themselves. They're murder hobos. And they start going around. They start going around Hungary, just pillaging the countryside and just taking all the food. And then eventually they start. The Byzantines decide, well, we're going to have to send out some people. We're going to have to send out a few, little detachments of soldiers to just kind of corral them and get them to stop.
You want to send murder hobos after the murder hobos?
No, just the guards.
Oh, just
the Byzantine guard. Send the Byzantine guard after the murder hobos. Oh, yes, they are. So you send the Byzantine guard after the murder hobos, and the murder hobos start killing the Byzantine guard. And then the Byzantines actually send out the army and start killing off the murder hobos. And about half of the Crusaders get killed by the Byzantines.
Oh, wasn't that the people they were...
Yeah, I know.
Oh, okay, well, we're off to a good start.
Oh, well, remember, these Crusaders are just mostly peasants. Mostly peasants being led by Walter Sansavoir.
Uh-huh.
And the Byzantines eventually round them up and decide, all right, obviously, we can't just let you just sit here at Belgrade and just wait for us to... So we're going to have to treat you like children. And the surviving Crusaders are then just carted off to Constantinople and then just kind of corralled into camps and just told, sit there and wait. And wait for the real knights to show up. Real knights are going to show up, right?
No, that's a solid maybe right there.
Well, Urban's sitting there going, of course the knights are going to show up, I promise. He's just sitting there like George R.R. Martin going, they're coming, I promise. And,
if you're going off of George R.R. Martin specifically, they still haven't come. It's been like 10 years. It's been 10 years. The boy has not even written a sixth book. It
is insane. So, that is a very good question. Lots of sex, I'm guessing.
I mean, that's actually a part of it, though.
We'll get to that. I've been drinking too much Iraq. Pass me the vodka.
Wow, this is going to be a very wasted history hour, but...
This is going to be an interesting history hour. What is this like?
I've been drinking... that one, or do you want the other one?
I'll go with the Moses one. I like this one better. It feels a bit milder. At any rate, so that's Walter, who is now waiting outside of Constantinople for something to happen. In the meantime, let's go to our second group of murder hobos. Are you ready for the second group of murder hobos?
I didn't know there was going to be two.
There's 3 of them.
Oh, wow. Well, it's a shame there aren't 4 to match the 4 popes. So, there's that. Panther Cat!
So, second group of murder hobos. So, we're done talking about Walter Sansavoir.
Goodbye, Walter Sansavoir.
He's waiting outside of Constantinople. We'll come back to him.
He's busy murdering. But for now, we're going to focus on someone else who's...
The next group of murder hobos. Which is being led by a guy named Peter the Hermit.
Okay.
Peter the Hermit.
There can only be good things from a guy named that name.
Now, Peter the Hermit, basically, he's this kind of guy who basically the Pope gets up and says, hey, I just got a letter from the Byzantine Emperor. He wants some help, and we're going to help him retake Jerusalem for Christendom. Everybody get ready, and we'll meet back in about a year and actually head down there and do it. In the meantime, Peter the Hermit, picture this guy.
Do I get to draw this guy?
Oh, draw this guy.
Yay!
Please draw Peter the Hermit.
I finally get to draw someone.
Peter the Hermit.
With my excellent artistic skills.
Absolutely. This is an old man, balding, long gray beard, a robe that's made of, I don't know, camel hair or something stupid.
I need a hard surface. Maybe I should use this box of matzah.
Use the box of matzah. That is totally fine. You can totally use the box. Here, clean paper right there. Clean paper.
Yeah.
Use the box of matzah.
That's a box of matzah.
Barefoot, got a staff, and wearing a brown cruddy robe. And Peter the Hermit gets up and he says, listen, everybody, I know that the Pope said he got a letter from the Byzantine Emperor. But I also got a letter. Do you know who my letter came from?
Who did it come from?
God! And I know the Pope says that he wants everybody to get ready for like a year. But you know what God says?
What did God say?
God says we need to go now! You can't wait for the nights. Everybody follow me and I will lead you to glory and it shall be glorious. So, is that Peter the Hermit or a beholder?
What's a beholder?
I don't know. I thought it was.
You mean like one of those?
Oh no, Mind Flayer. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
No, or the thing from Doctor Who with the thingy.
That's a beard.
Oh, that's a beard.
That's a beard.
I thought that was tentacles.
Does it look more like a beard now?
Yes, it looks more like a beard now.
Are you sure? Right. I think you're pulling my.
I'm gonna ignore this, and I'll wait till you're done. I'm not gonna stifle your artistic development here. I already poured myself a glass of this. All right. So Peter the Hermit says, "Everybody follow me," and a whole bunch of people follow him. Whole bunch of peasants, more people who have no business going off to war, who are armed with sticks and pitchforks. And they're following him, and they start in and around the Clermont area where the Pope is, and they make their way across Europe, and they start going through Hungary, and they get to the gates of Hungary. And when they get to the gates of Hungary, the King of Hungary is like, "Oh, there's more of you," because remember Walter? He just went through Hungary and did all that pillaging.
Yeah.
So he's like, "There's more of you," and then Peter's like, "Listen, Walter was all right. Yep. That's good.
This is our guy. That's what he looks like. It's a visual representation."
So the King of Hungary says to Peter, "I don't know. These other Crusaders came through and they pillaged and destroyed everything." And Peter's like, "Listen, Walter was a baron. You can't trust a baron. I'm a hermit. Obviously, you can trust a hermit. Who doesn't trust a hermit? I promise."
I don't think I trust the murder hermit.
Yeah, I know.
It's only a slightly different profession than murder hobo.
So Peter the Hermit assures the King of Hungary that they're not going to do any pillaging. We promise. We promise.
Pinky swear.
Pinky swear.
Pinky swear.
Pinky swear. The King of Hungary decides to let them go through.
Why? Just why?
Guess what they do?
Why? Do they pillage and
They
murder
pillage.
everyone? Oh, wow.
They pillage and murder everyone.
I would never expect that out of Peter the freaking Hermit.
I mean, to be fair, it didn't start until they started getting to the villages that Walter had pillaged. Up until that point, things were okay. And then they got to those villages, and the villages, and the villagers are like, "Oh my God, more Crusaders!" And like, "But we're nice. We don't trust you. Then we don't like you." And so there it went, you know. So yeah, more pillaging. Eventually, they get to Belgrade, and the governor. He has a name, by the way. The Byzantine governor. Remember him?
Governor.
He has a name.
What's his name?
Nicetas. I wrote it down.
that's nice.
Nicetus. He's a nice guy.
He's nice.
Nicetus is a nice guy. This really shouldn't have happened to him. He's just a bureaucrat, you know. He's just a government official, and these guys are coming up to the door to Belgrade and like, oh, we're here to help, and we don't have any weapons, but we're gonna kill everybody anyway. So Nicetus like, I don't know what to do with you guys, and like, then we'll pillage, and they're like, all right, we'll stop the pillage. Just come through, and just come to Constantinople.
Yeah, no.
And he sends a bunch of soldiers down, like, we're going to bring you to Constantinople, and it's going to be fine. And you're going to be all right. Here, let's help you cross this river. Now, we're crossing a river here, right? We're crossing a river.
Let's help you cross the river, and it will be fine. Oh, no, the boat tipped over.
No, it's better than that. It's better than that.
No, that's how I wish it happened.
That's how that would be nice, but no. We're going to bring you out. We're just ferry you across the river in boats. But all these people are in line, and they're waiting to get on the boats.
They're getting impatient.
Oh,
no.
And some of the guys on the boats are like, it's not going fast enough. We have to kill everybody.
Why would that make it go faster?
I don't know.
Why? Why would killing the guy who drives the boat make it go faster?
For the same reason people press the elevator button a million times. I don't know.
Oh, God, you're right.
Yeah, I know. It is insane. It is kind of insane. They eventually get to the city of Niš, by the way, which is the provincial capital, which is more or less here.
It's pretty niche.
Yeah, they decided to besiege it because it was there.
Why?
And at that point, they were bored.
What? Oh,
so the business. So the governor, Nicetus. He's like, okay, I'm just gonna. I'm not. He's not having a nice day at all. So he sends his soldiers down there to round him up. Tries to kill as few of them as possible, but because theoretically these guys are here to help, ostensibly.
Oh,
no, not quite. I'm sorry, you just missed the cat trying to climb up the thing and then fail. It's all right. He'll try again next time.
I think he's just like, actually, it's pretty comfy down here.
So there's Peter the Hermit with his group. Now, by the way, Peter, this whole time, remember Peter? Remember Peter?
The guy who's killing him? Oh, no.
Well, he's not actually doing any of the killing. It's the people who are doing it. Peter the Hermit, this whole time, Peter the Hermit he's the cleric of the group with a couple of levels in Paladin.
So he's just
he's
everybody murder everyone else?
He's trying to stop them. That's the funny part. He's the cleric who's going around like, guys, we really shouldn't be killing Christians here because these are all Christians. Everybody here, they're all Christians.
Yeah, those non-Christians.
It's like, we're supposed to be killing Muslims here. We're not supposed to be killing Christians. Killing Christians is bad. But no one is actually listening to him. And they're all just killing everybody anyway. Mm-hmm. And at one point, at a number of points, actually, Peter leaves the group in order to go to somewhere where there's somebody who, like a bureaucrat or someone that he can talk to. At one point, he tries to actually go to Constantinople himself just to get the emperor and be like, I brought all these people to help. They're destroying everything. I don't know what to do. And
so basically, all these people are just crazy.
Oh, Peter has lost control of this group.
Okay. All
right. He has no control.
I feel like that's the point where you just, you check out of the party. But I guess he wanted to go with them.
You might. I mean, he does still want to. He wants to get to Jerusalem and retake the Holy Land, doesn't he?
If I have to do that with murder hobos, then so be it.
If you got to do it with murder hobos.
I mean, the thing is, when you're on crusade, though, anybody you kill along the way is fair game, right?
Well, I wouldn't say fair game, but it does get you into heaven. I don't know. The Pope was a little bit vague on exactly.
The more people you kill, the more you'll get into heaven?
Assuming they're heathens. Which the line between Christian and heathen is very vague. Because, like,
what exactly is a heathen?
Muslims, Orthodox Christians, not Catholics, except maybe the Hungarians. They're only recently Catholic. I don't know. Just get to Jerusalem.
We haven't started murdering the Catholics yet in medieval history. We'll get to that later. Actually, that's like a different... That's many centuries later, but still.
Murder hobos does sound like a band name.
It probably is.
It probably
is. It's a very popular term in D&D circles.
So, Peter the Hermit's group, eventually, the Byzantine army just comes along and basically just rounds them all up and says, all right, enough is enough. We're taking you to Constantinople, and then you're going to wait in Constantinople for the real army to arrive. Now, we're going to get to them in a minute, but first we need to talk about our third group.
What's our... Oh, yeah, there's another
Remember, there's three groups. So we had Walter Sans-Savoir.
Walter Sans-Savoir.
Yeah.
Walter Sans-Savoir.
Yeah.
Okay, who you didn't want me to draw.
Well, I did not want you to draw him. You just didn't do that.
Well,
I didn't tell you not to.
And you were like, meh. So, okay.
Well, I didn't say you couldn't. I just didn't.
Now, who's the other group?
All right. So you have Walter Sans-Savoir, who went through Hungary without incident until he got to Belgrade, and then everything went south. Then you had Peter the Hermit and his guys, who got about halfway through Hungary, and then everything went south. And now we've got a third group, led by Count Emico.
Oh, no.
And Count Emico, they're going to start in Köln, which is about up here or so, a little bit north of Frankfurt, I believe. It's not marked up there, but up there on the lower part of the Rhine, just before you get to the Nederland.
Present day Germany.
Germany-ish.
Yes, Germany-ish, anyway.
Western Germany-ish. So in Köln, this is where Count Emico is. And Count Emico, and this is where we get to the part that V mentioned and predicted, alluded to. Yes. So here's our third group. So Count Emico, he is also a nobleman. He is also a knight. He is somebody, but he is also a knight who's a bit out of his mind. He is the fighter that is a member of the murder hobo group. He's got his own murder hobo group. A bunch of more peasants. We're following him.
There's lots of peasants in this one.
It's the People's Crusade. This is the People's Crusade. It's all a bunch of peasants.
So
our first group led by Walter, who was a crazy knight. Our second group led by Peter the Hermit, who was a crazy hermit. And our third group led by Count Emico, who is also a crazy knight. And these guys, they don't even get to Hungary before they start killing. Because these guys, oh, how impatient they are. They are ready to kill heathens. And they're on their way to kill heathens.
What possible group is out there that are distinctly not Christian that they might have some kind of animosity towards and also might want to murder?
So, yeah. Basically, they look around.
But send in your votes now on your phone.
Text in your votes on your phones. It's the Jews, just in case you weren't aware. So yeah, these murder hobos are like, we were going to kill heathens, but Jerusalem is so far away.
So, we could just...
And there's all these Jews right here.
And we do have...
And they do have all this money.
And
they didn't, but, that was the stereotype.
We have express permission
to kill heathens.
And
we're allowed to kill any heathens we want.
And they do count as heathens.
Indeed. So. They are totally heathens. I'm a proud heathen myself. Bunch of heathens out there too. They're heathens with motorcycles, though. There's a different kind of thing right there.
Yeah,
we're allowed to hate them.
It's time for Foxy's history intermission.
Yeah, damn motorcycles.
Oh well, that was half the size tonight. Maybe because it's Monday night.
Indeed. All right, so here's France. Here's Germany. Here's the Rhine River. Oh, I've got all these cities along the Rhine River. So yeah, the Crusaders come down the Rhine River Valley, which, by the way, is where a lot of Jews live.
Yep.
At some point, I'm going to do a thing on Jewish history to explain why there were so many Jews living in the Rhine
River
Valley.
There's a reason why they're all there.
There's a lot of Jews living in the Rhine River Valley.
But for now, just know that there's a lot.
No, there's a lot of Jews. That's basically this is Kiryas Yoel of the Middle Ages. If
you're not in New York, you probably don't.
If you live in New York, you know what I'm talking about. But if you're not from New York, it's New York actually. This is the New York of the Middle Ages. This is Williamsburg
and Williamsburg.
Borough Park is all along here, but in German. And basically, Count Emico and the Crusaders just make their way down the Rhine River Valley and slaughter so many Jews. There are some places where the local bishops actually tried to save the local Jews.
Yeah, they do.
Credit where credit's due.
Credit where credit is due.
The bishop.
Not everybody is a huge monster in this.
Not every Christian is a bad guy in this thing. The Bishop of Speyer managed to protect the Jews of Speyer.
Mm-hmm.
The Bishop of Mainz tried. He had the Jews gather in his own house. He brought all the Jews into his house. 800 of them, by the way. He was a bishop. He had a big house. Welcome to Catholicism.
Big-ass house.
What happened to medieval Catholicism? Of course they had hipsters. Like in Mainz, all the hipsters were in big beards and everything. But yeah, so in Mainz, the bishop brought all the Jews into his house, but it was only him and his personal guard, and the Crusaders overpowered them and killed all the Jews inside. And in Worms, all of the rich people of the city, all of the burghers and the local nobles actually got behind the Bishop of Worms to protect the Jewish community. So good for them. The community of Worms, the entire city got up to protect their Jews, but they were overpowered by the Crusaders. And unfortunately, in most towns and places where Jews lived, the locals did not help. Like Speyer, Worms, and Mainz were exceptions rather than the rule. And a lot of the locals were just like, yeah, oh, you want to kill the Jews? Fine. We can live with that, as long as you're not killing us.
There's a lot of indifference, unfortunately, so...
Oh, that is an interesting... So that is Godfrey de Bouillon, who we'll get to eventually.
Yep, we'll get to him.
So I swore to avenge Jesus by shedding... I assume you mean shedding. By shedding Jewish blood and completely eradicating any trace of those bearing the name Jew. That is a real quote.
And this is kind of just the general reality of medieval Europe. It was really anti-Semitic. Very, very anti-Semitic. And honestly, it's still kind of anti-Semitic to this day.
Yeah.
And this is like the anti-Semitism in the whole world, but especially in Europe, has very, very long roots. And you can see it very clearly here in the Crusades. You can see it later in the Holocaust. Like, this is a very, very ingrained thing in a lot of places.
Yes, and it is also the sort of thing that an event like this, it leaves its mark on the collective psyche and the collective subconscious of people, because so there's a holiday in big quotation marks, a remembrance day called Tisha B'Av in Jewish culture. This is a day that was originally meant to commemorate the destruction of the temple in Jerusalem by the Babylonians, but since then has evolved as a day to generally commemorate the various genocides that have been committed. So in the liturgy associated with that day, there are these prayers called kinot, which are meant to be lamentations, basically prayers of remembrance and prayers of sadness to remember disasters. And there is a whole list of kinot. There's about at least, if I remember correctly, like 15 or 20 of them that are just associated with that are associated with the various massacres that took place across the Rhine. And if you find in some of the old prayer books that still exist from that period, the ones that come from the Rhineland, specifically from that period, a lot of them have, and you can see it's written in the margin by a different hand, of the blessing that you say before committing suicide, before the Crusaders come. Because that was the thing that some rabbis, this was what rabbis were debating about this, of are you allowed to kill yourself if you know the Crusaders are on their way? And there were some rabbis said, no, you're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to commit suicide under any circumstance. But other rabbis said, yeah, you're allowed to do that. If they're coming and you know they're coming, you are allowed to commit suicide. And this is the prayer that you say before you do it.
This was a thing that happened.
So, yeah.
And it was by no means the last of these
oh no, this becomes a continual thing.
It was not the first, nor was it by any means the last. So
but,
that was a huge downer note.
That was a huge.
Very,
I mean, now that this has been
yeah, no, we've been talking about murder. This
So
whole
much
time.
murder,
There's been
so much death.
murder. But
I mean,
welcome
that
to
one
the
in
Crusades.
Being a Jew, that one in particular kind of hits me close to home.
And it's
But,
also Passover, so
and it's also Passover, so it's like, in every generation there's some group of people comes to try to kill us. Oh, the Egyptians enslaved us, but then the Philistines and the Greeks and the Romans and the Babylonians.
Are you okay?
I'm fine.
That's a lot. That's a lot. That's like chain drinking the vodka.
I'm good. I
Are
promise.
you okay?
Yes.
You're gonna have to tone it down just a bit.
I'm gonna be all right. So, Count Emiko makes his way down the Rhine. Now, there's a happy ending to this, because Count Emiko and his group of murder hobos get to Hungary. And as soon as they get to Hungary, this is now the third group of crusaders that's gone through Hungary. The king of Hungary takes one look at these guys and goes, no.
No,
no.
We're gonna We're gonna nope on this one.
Count Emiko, on the other hand, says, no, screw that. We're coming in anyway. God's behind us. God is with us. And so they march their way through, and the Hungarian army just slaughters them. Pretty much to a man. Pretty much all gone.
All right, so which group was this that's now gone?
Emiko's group, the third group, the one that killed all the Jews.
Oh, no. Those guys are gone?
They're just all dead.
Oh,
all dead.
Oh, no.
So,
no, we loved them so much. So sad that they're gone.
Maybe true. Now, meantime, back in Constantinople, let's go ahead and finish off this People's Crusade.
Mm-hmm.
Meantime, in Constantinople, you've got Peter the Hermit and Walter Sanzavoire.
Right.
They are still outside the gates of Constantinople.
Uh-huh.
And it is at this point when Alexius says, all right, guys. All right, remember Alexius, the guy who started this
here,
whole
let me get
thing?
my visual for him. Got Alexius. There he is.
Remember
He's the
Alexius?
one who says the thing.
So Alexius is like, all right, guys, you're all a bunch of peasants.
The Hobos Crusade is actually a very apt title for this.
All right, indeed it is. So Alexius says, look, you're all a bunch of peasants. Why don't you wait for the real knights to show up? Why don't you wait for actual soldiers who know what they're doing to show up? And then continue to Jerusalem. Just wait out here outside Constantinople until then. But they decide, no, God has sent us to go and fight the heathen. And so fight the heathen we shall.
Only good things can come from this.
So Alexius decides, screw it, I'm not going to let these guys hang outside of Constantinople any longer than I have to. He puts them on a bunch of boats, ferries them across the Dardanelles. So we're right over here. Here we are, Constantinople. Ferry them across the Dardanelles. Off to Anatolia you go. You're no longer my problem. The Crusaders, under Walter and Peter the Hermit, then proceed to try to make their way to Jerusalem. They pillage the countryside. They burn down a lot of villages. They do conquer a couple of castles. There's this guy Raymond, we'll call him Ray, and there's also this guy Geoffrey de Bouillon, which we'll call him Jeff.
He's a bouillon cube.
Bouillon cube.
He's a bouillon cube. Is he?
No, I'm sorry. Bourrel, Geoffrey de Bourrel.
He can't be a bouillon cube.
We're going to get to bouillon. We're going to get to the bouillon cube.
Oh, there is going to be a bouillon cube.
Geoffrey de Bouillon is going to, we're going to talk, I'm looking at the time, we're going to have to talk about him next week.
All right.
It is going to take a while. His First Crusade is a lot of stuff going on.
The Crusades are loaded, yo. There's a lot. I mean, we're also just giving you a summary of this Crusade. There is so much other stuff you could talk about. Well, we aren't even touching it because we're time.
But to finish off this episode, So there's a guy named Jeff and there's a guy named Ray.
Jeff and Ray.
Oh, we're going to learn about a different Jeff next week, but that's a different Jeff. We're also going to learn about a different Ray next week.
But who are we talking about now?
We're talking about basically two guys named Jeff and Ray, but they're not really that important because they're going to die real soon.
Okay, all right.
The point
Spoilers!
Well, we're almost done with this week's episode.
All right.
We're kind of wrapping up here with the People's Crusade.
I see. So let's go.
So you got Peter the Hermit, you got Walter, you got Walt, Jeff, and Ray, and Pete. Walt, Jeff, Ray, and Pete, and all of the peasants who are following them.
A lot of peasants. Lots of peasants.
A lot of peasants. And Walt, Jeff, Pete, and Ray, basically, Peter, you got to remember Peter the Hermit, he's actually kind of peaceful. all things
well,
considered.
I mean, I guess in the sense that he doesn't kill anyone himself, but he's still
And
willing
also-
to associate with a lot of
well, here's the thing.
murderers.
He is trying to get these people to not kill Christians.
Well, he's failing.
he is failing.
He's failing massively.
When it comes to murder hobo D&D groups, Peter the Hermit is the cleric who is trying to be like, can we not kill everybody, please? Can we wait till we get to the Holy Land and kill Muslims instead of killing fellow Christians?
So he's a murder hobo. He's just a murder hobo for a particular group.
Yes.
Got it.
He's lawful good, theoretically.
He's not. though.
According to certain laws.
You're not lawful good
If
you
the
wanna...
law says
Oh
you
my
can
God.
kill Muslims,
You know,
then you're lawful good.
lawful evil exists. Did you
Very
know
well.
that?
He's lawful neutral. Let's call him lawful neutral.
Fine. I guess. I don't know about murder because it should kind of qualify you as evil, but fine. This is not
This
about
is a
D&D
weird
yet.
philosophical conversation.
Indeed.
Point is that they go into Anatolia, basically this area right here. They besiege a few castles. They actually manage to take a couple of castles. Then the Turks come in under Kilij Arslan. Remember Kilij Arslan? He's the leader of the Turks. And he's like, what are these people doing? Why are these weirdos? We got like a handful of knights, a weird hermit guy, and a bunch of peasants who are coming here, besieging my castles and slaughtering the peasants in my villages.
Mm-hmm.
Villages which, by the way, keep in mind, these were villages that were once part of the Byzantine Empire. In fact, like not that long ago, like 10, 20 years ago, 5 years ago, and even some places, couple of years ago, these were Byzantine villages. They are inhabited by Byzantine Orthodox Christians. The Byzantine Emperor asked for these guys and helped to retake these villages so that way he could rule them again and charge them taxes and stuff. But instead, these guys are coming in and just indiscriminately killing and pillaging and taking stuff. And Kilij Arslan, the leader of the Turks, is rather miffed at this because he just took these cities and wanted to, tax the peasants and stuff. And now these people are coming and killing everyone. So Kilij Arslan sends his guys in and pretty much slaughters as many of the Crusaders as he possibly can. And he's, the leader of the Turks, and he's got a lot of horse archers, and he's very good at what he does. And so he's a slaughter. It's a slaughter.
It's a slaughter.
It's a slaughter.
So he murders the murder hobos.
He murders, basically, the murder hobos come in.
They tried to murder.
And they start murdering.
But then they
kill a lot of peasants.
They kill a
lot of the local, mostly Byzantine Christian peasants.
Man, do we have
They
a
kill
body
a lot
count
of
for this stuff
thousands.
Sorry, we're up in the thousands.
So they kill a lot of Byzantine Christian peasants.
Mm-hmm.
They kill a lot of Turkish peasants.
Mm-hmm.
They kill a few Turkish soldiers, I guess, because then the Turkish soldiers come in and slaughter all of them. I mean, the Crusaders take a few of them down with them. But for the most part, the Turks just slaughter everyone, except for Ray. Remember Ray? He converts to Islam.
What?
Well, there's at one point, at one particular battle, Kilij Arslan decides to show mercy and tells everybody, listen, if you convert to Islam, I won't kill you. And a lot of the Crusaders go like, you shall have to kill me. I shall die before I renege on my oath to Christ. And then they martyr themselves heroically, I guess. But not Ray. No, he's like, assalamu alaikum, everyone. I'm great with this. It's going to be fun. So he converts to Islam.
Wow.
And
a man of principle, I see.
So the Turks just basically so murder hobos, they get into Anatolia, slaughter a bunch of peasants, and then the Turks come in under Kilij Arslan, and they slaughter the Crusaders, who, remember, this is the People's Crusades. This is a bunch of peasants. It's like shooting fish in a barrel, really, for them. It's easy. Mm-hmm. Easy. And they're dead. And the survivors limp back to Constantinople. Jeff survives, but he doesn't really matter. He's not going to be important next week.
Okay, all right.
Walter survives, but he's not going to be important next week either. Peter survives, and he's only going to be important for sentimental reasons. So basically, they limp on their way back, and so it is estimated that during the People's Crusade, about 40,000 or so peasants went on the People's Crusades.
Okay.
About 40,000 peasants. And after they come in, they kill a bunch of peasants. Achilles Arslan massacres them. About 3,000 limp their way back to Constantinople.
Whoa, that is quite a slaughter.
Yep. That is a slaughter.
Quite the slaughter.
About 3,000 peasants limp their way back to Constantinople. And now they're waiting for the real crusade.
Did we start? This is not the First Crusade.
This is the People's Crusade.
So this is not the First Crusade.
Not really.
Wow. So we haven't even gotten to the First Crusade.
So we are about an hour and 5 minutes, so which means it's time for us to wrap up.
It's time for us to wrap up. But we also haven't even started the thing.
So our first episode we talked about the background.
We talked about the background.
Background of everything.
Then we talked about the People's
And
Crusade.
today we've talked about the People's Crusade, where basically the Pope in 1096 declared a crusade with the expectation that everybody would prepare for the crusade for like a year or two.
They did it.
But, well, a lot did. The
Some
knights,
did.
most of the
Some
knights,
did, but a
most
lot
of
of
the
them
knights
didn't.
and the barons did, but there were a handful of knights and barons and a bunch of peasants who just decided that preparing was for stupid people. And we're just gonna charge right in. And over the course of this past hour, we have learned how they pretty much got slaughtered.
They didn't even get to Jerusalem.
They didn't even get to. They got to like Anatolia,
as
right about here.
Pointed out,
right about
they
here.
Did not get to Jerusalem.
That is as far as they got.
They did not get there. Richard the Lionheart will come in eventually, but not
for a while. That's Third Crusade.
That is Third Crusade. So
we're not even covering that. That'll be another vote. That'll be another vote.
That'll be another thing. We might cover him later, but he won't be involved in this crusade.
In this crusade, we are not going to be talking about him. And in fact, we are actually finishing up. I'm so first of all, for SpongeBob SquarePants and Mid Stormcloak, I'm very sorry that you only just showed up. Because we are
here for a while.
Oh, he's been here.
He's been here.
I showed you, right? You're right. He has been here for a while.
But SpongeBob SquarePants just
indeed.
showed up.
SpongeBob SquarePants just showed up. I'm terribly sorry that we are just wrapping up. But that being said, this will continue to be online for a while, so feel free to just rewind it to the beginning and experience an hour of the People's Crusade and all of the stupid things that happened on the People's Crusade. We do hope that you have enjoyed this look at the People's Crusade. And
next week,
this is taking at least 3 weeks.
Yeah,
so,
it's the Crusade.
It's the first.
I don't know what you really.
We're only doing the First Crusade. I thought the First Crusade.
It doesn't matter. The Crusades are the most loaded of topics.
They're loaded.
They're very, very.
They are
loaded.
very loaded.
They're very loaded.
The Crusades are very loaded.
Even if it's just one Crusade, they're
even if it's just
loaded.
One. So last week we did the backstory.
Mm-hmm.
This week we did the prequel, which is the People's Crusade, and then next week, so the Pope declares a crusade. All of the knights get ready while the stupid people go on half-cocked. And next week, we're going to learn about the barons and the knights, the guys who actually prepared. The guys who actually decided to sit down and say, we are going to do this the right way. And next week, we're going to learn about them. And there's a bunch of them. There's another Ray and there's another Jeff. Different Ray and Jeff. Ray and Jeff are very common names in the Crusades.
I see.
You learn that.
Okay.
Ray and Jeff. Well, Raymond and Geoffrey. But yeah, Ray and Jeff. There's a lot of Ray and Jesses. So we're going to learn about them. We're also going to learn about there's a Hugh. There's also a Bohemond, which is cool. There's a Baldwin. We're going to learn about him.
He'll come in.
There's also a Flanders.
Well,
his name is Robert.
Don't then.
His name is Rob.
His name's Rob.
Rob Flanders.
Flanders.
There's
Sexy Flanders.
Stupid, sexy Flanders. We're going to learn about stupid, sexy. Not Ned Flanders, Rob Flanders.
Rob Flanders.
He's an ancestor.
I see.
Rob Flanders.
I mean, actually, that kind of checks out considering his character.
Yeah, he's a nice guy. To be fair, there were a couple of nice crusaders, and Rob Flanders.
We're gonna get to them though.
Rob Flanders is one of them. He's a nice guy. So we're gonna get to him. Jeff is a jackass. Baldwin's a jackass. Both of them are a jackass.
Stop spoilering.
So thank you very much, everyone, for coming by, and we will see you next week. I believe on Sunday. Presumably.
Probably Sunday.
We'll keep you updated.
Most likely, we'll announce it in the next day or so.
Yes, indeed.
But it'll either be Sunday or possibly Monday, but probably Sunday.
Most likely Sunday.
And
hopefully the History Hour will regularly be on Sunday. Today it was Monday because Passover.
Right.
And but join us on Thursday for Cooking with Foxy. Join us on Saturday for Foxy's Drinking Hour. And join us on Sunday, presumably, for Foxy's History Hour, where we will actually get into the First Crusade for realsies.
Because we haven't done that yet.
The First Crusade, Episode 4, A New Hope.
Except it's Episode 3.
Except it's Episode 3.
It's Episode 3.
It is.
Yes. All right.
I hope to see you then. Bye now.